SAT number 17, the April 2019 QAS test. And 25 says, in lines 20 through 21, the references to the tiger and the moth serve mainly to. So here we have a serve mainly to question. So the way that I think about these is pretty straightforward. Just basically go to the references that are mentioned, and we're just going to figure out basically what's the purpose, what is the meaning that these the reference to the tiger and the moth, what does it mean, what's the idea that the author is trying to communicate in making that reference. So we go through to lines 20 through 21, and that's right here. And the whole sentence says, we'll actually start it up here. Basically, Matthew Klooster is trying to find out if Monotropsis odorata might serve a similar purpose as the stripes. So sorry, the leaves, right? The bracts, these are these specialized leaves. He's wondering if they might serve a similar purpose as the stripes on a tiger or the gray coloration of the wings of the peppered moth, namely to hide. So this little sentence here is basically saying the scientist wants to look and see if the bracts or the leaves are acting like camouflage. And so the reason why he's mentioning the stripes on a tiger or the gray coloration of the wings of the peppered moth is basically to explain or to give examples of other features of camouflage or other examples of camouflage that he wants to see if Monotropsis odorata can be compared to. So basically the references are being made to give examples of camouflage. So let's see if we have an answer choice that will match that. So we look at A, and A says that it serves mainly to provide examples of animal species with characteristics analogous to those of the plant investigated in the passage. So provide examples, okay, with characteristics, okay, analogous to those of the plant investigated in the passage. So I actually think this is a pretty good answer choice because we said that basically the moth and the tiger are examples of camouflage. So provide examples, right? Characteristics, that would be the camouflage, and then analogous is similar to. So this is basically saying to provide examples of animal species that have the camouflage similar to the plant that we're looking at. So good choice, let's keep it. B says that the reference serves mainly to offer a contrast between the defensive strategies of animals and the strategies of the plant examined in the passage. So this would make sense if the author was citing or referencing the moth and the tiger basically to say, look at the difference between how they use camouflage and how the plants use camouflage. And if he was sort of highlighting the difference between them. But that's not really what he's doing. He's using them as a touchstone, as a reference point for what camouflage looks like and what kind of camouflage they're looking for in the plant. So B is not correct. C says that that the references serve to suggest a new possibility for applying the plant research discussed in the passage to the animal world. So this might make sense if basically we had the findings or the study of the plant, and basically whatever findings that we took from there, now the author saying let's apply those to the animal world, and they'll give us insights into the animal, into tigers, and it may give us insights into the moth or other animals that use camouflage. But that's not really what we have going on. One, we haven't really found any of the research. We haven't even concluded the research for the plant yet. We're still in the beginning stages of it. And that's not really just what the reference is used for. The reference is used to give other examples of camouflage that animals use. So we can get rid of C. D says that the purpose of the reference is to defend the work described in the passage against those who would criticize the inclusion of certain animals in the interpretation of the findings. So this has a number of things wrong with it. What would basically need to be true for this to work is if we had the author or a scientist who they're including a whole bunch of different animals or plants in their study, and they're including tigers and moths, and maybe people criticize by saying, why are you looking at tigers and moths? Because they're so different for X, Y, and Z, and you're lumping them together. And then the author, the scientist, is defending this by saying, no, it's good to include all of these animals in our interpretation. That's really definitely not what's going on in the passage, and there's really no criticism that's being mentioned. There's no defensiveness here. The only thing that's being used with the reference of the tiger and the moth is basically to give examples of camouflage. So let's get rid of D, and that's going to leave us with answer choice A, which is our correct answer for question number 20.